We have yet another entry into the Operation Protect the White Boys, whatever you want to call it. This time it doesn't, and this time it does not involve a cop, because a lot of them that I tend to do involve law enforcement, but this one does not, but it still falls into the same category. So you see two people. On the left, you see a woman by the name of Michelle Roenz, and on the right is her son, Tyler Roenz. And Tyler, who beat and strangled his mother to death, then put her body in the trunk and ended up leading the police on a high-speed chase. So you would think that him doing all of those things would lead to some serious jail time. Well, he could still get some jail time, or at the very least give him a very, very high bond or no bond at all. Well, spoiler alert, and not so surprising, he ended up getting a bond that was granted by a judge. Now, I don't know how much this bond is, but I'm willing to bet it's probably relatively low, or something that could be affordable at the very least. I will be pleasantly surprised if it was that high. But the fact of the matter is, he got a bond at all, considering that this man killed his mother and then put her body in the trunk and then led the police on a high-speed chase. I mean, the amount of charges that this kid, well, they said teenager, we'll see how old he is because I don't know his age yet. The amount of charges he has racked up already, just on that alone. A judge in Houston set bond on Thursday for a teenager accused of strangling and beating his mother to death before traveling cross country with her corpse in the trunk of her stolen 2011 Mazda 3. So this guy was this kid, or who, again, I still don't know his age. If they say 18, I'm calling him a man. This teenager was driving across country, which means he most likely made it out of the state of Texas. Who knows where he was going? My thing is, they say cross country, you would think that he would probably try to head for the border, but who knows where he was going and why he was. Never mind. Let me continue. Tyler Roenz, age 17. So now we can, legit, now that we have an age, we can just refer to him as a minor. Stands accused of 1 count each of murder, unauthorized use of a vehicle, and tampering with evidence over the slaying of his 49-year-old Michelle Roenz in October 2022. In response to a defense request, a Harris County judge set the defendant's bond on the murder charge at $750,000. I guess that you can consider that relatively high. I don't know if he can afford it or not, but I don't know what their family finances were. Set his bond on tampering with a corpse charge at $250,000, and set his bond on the unauthorized use of a motor vehicle charge at $50,000. So a little over $100,000 in total, but their pace, that's pretty much where they're sitting at with him. Harris County Assistant District Attorney Lisa Callaghan told local CBS affiliate KHOU. But again, considering all the stuff that he's done, he still should not have received the bond. I always tell people, when you think of some of these heinous, harsh, dark, cruel stories like this, they don't need a bond. I've seen people who have gotten charged with way less and get no bonds. Yet this guy, whoever, he did all of that and still has a figure behind it that if he was to bond out today, he could just go home until it's time for him to come back in for his court date. A separate, unrelated attempted sexual assault charge had a bond set at $10,000. That's interesting. The defendant was already out on bond for a third-degree felony at the time his mother was killed. Oh, so this is just a little badass. He's like he must have been one of them children of the corn. In sum, Roenz had a bond assessed in excess of $1 million with strict bond conditions should he be able to pay for his pretrial release. Now, I'm noticing that they said that he had a bond in excess of $1 million. So it looks like, or sounds like to me, the 10% thing didn't apply. Otherwise, it would have been $100,000 or a little bit over that. So yeah, well, you know what? Now that I put it like that, he probably can't afford that, but still, he still haven't received a bond. The judge has made it clear that he's not to have contact with his father or go near his father's residence. Callaghan explained if he gets out, he has to be on a 24-hour house arrest with an ankle monitor. The defendant, however, previously lived in the family's house where his father still lives. So if he's able to post bond, Roenz would need to obtain accommodations with somebody else willing to take him in. good luck considering this story. I don't think anybody's going to want to have someone in their house who killed their mother and put her body in the trunk and was driving around just because. On October 13, 2022, the 17-year-old and his 49-year-old mother were both reported missing by the teenager's father, who was also the victim's husband. That report was filed after he came home to find a human tooth in the garage and a trail of blood leading to the master bedroom, where there was a large pool of blood and 4 additional teeth. The husband of the deceased woman also reported that his wife Mazda was gone. A trail quickly appeared based on a series of credit card purchases in Michelle Roen's name that had been made at gas stations leading to Kansas. The Harris County Sheriff's Office said. Soon enough, the missing Mazda was spotted in Nebraska. Authorities in Texas gave word to the Nebraska State Police that the car was believed to be traveling within the Cornhusker State and linked to a recent homicide. Some 15 minutes after that alert, state troopers said they caught sight of the car and attempted a traffic stop, which then led to a brief high-speed chase. After allegedly traveling for roughly 9 miles at speeds up in excess of 110 miles an hour, the Mazda quickly rear-ended a semi-truck and careened off the road, slamming into a tree near Aurora, Nebraska. The defendant was seriously injured in the ensuing crash and taken to a hospital where his condition was said to be serious. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez said at the time, the body of a deceased woman was found in the trunk of the Mazda, the sheriff added. The defendant was detained in Nebraska and later extradited back to Texas. The deceased woman was soon identified as Roen's mother. Her cause of death was determined to be strangulation and blunt force trauma, according to authorities. The exact circumstances surrounding her death, however, are still unknown, and prosecutors have yet to publicly float a presumed motive for why the defendant allegedly killed his mother and then traveled out of state. Well, I'm sure all of that will come out in the trial because, as you can tell, the suspect is very still much alive. That's some wild stuff right there. Like, this guy killed his mother in his own home, put his mother's body in her car, took it and traveled it across state lines. They found the car in Nebraska. Now, the thing is, if it wasn't for that high speed chase, it makes you wonder how much further he would have gotten, because they say he ended up crashing into a semi truck. And then that's when and that's pretty much when it was over. If that high speed chase hadn't happened, who knows how far he wouldn't have gotten. And my next question is, where was he going? This guy was going more west, I guess you can say, than anything. But where was he going? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, yeah, like, that's crazy. Should he be found guilty? This is definitely life imprisonment without the possibility of parole as far as a sentencing I would give. I think, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, Texas possibly, I think, does have the death penalty. So if that's on the table, then he could possibly see that as well. But again, he should not have had an opportunity to receive a bond. I don't care if it is set in excess of $1 million. There should have been no bond, point blank, period. When you think of what this guy did, what this kid did, if I was the judge, there would be no bond granted. He would be staying his ass right in lockup until it's time for him to reemerge in front of a judge.